Welcome to our February 2012 Facebook Developer Garage London. My name is Todd Chafee, I'm chairman of the group. And first I'd like to start out with a very big thank you to our sponsors, starting with Excel Partners. These are the guys that invested in Facebook, and I think if you flip over your brochure on the back, a bunch of companies that they've invested in. So if you're a startup and you've got a cool idea and you're looking for money, talk to us and we'll put you in touch with them. Tonight we also have as our official Social Media Week London partner, Special Moves. And they've also sponsored drinks tonight, so a big thank you to them and enjoy a drink on Special Moves. That does deserve a round of applause. Thanks, guys. And we also have Gameroff Digital here tonight. They're a London Facebook app developer, amongst other things, and they'll also be speaking tonight. So thanks to Gameroff, a regular sponsor of ours. We have the Wi-Fi up there. I think it's called Glazier's Hall 1, and that's the password there. If you tweet about the event, please include @FDGL so we see it. And let's get right into the news. Not a ton of Facebook news this month. One little thing here that I found interesting, this keeps coming back and getting renamed. And it's kind of useful for when you're starting up a page and you really don't have a community yet. Circled in red over there, you'll see invite email contacts. I think that was called invite fans, and they also hid it away and it wasn't there for a while, but it's back. And you can invite up to, I think, 5,000 email contacts. So if you've got a good database of email addresses and you want to give a kickstart to a page, that's a little useful tip. And a little bit about the timeline here. First of all, Facebook have really officially kicked this off now. I think it was just after our last garage in January that they officially announced that developers could request any verb to aggregate on the timeline. And if you go to the link I've got on the bottom there, right there, you can see kind of a portfolio of apps of, I think, 60 plus apps that they've just announced have been released. But the cool thing, this is the thing that excited me, is I kind of scribbled in there, apps bring your page timeline to life. And what that's all about is Facebook have announced, or let it leak, that they're going to be having the timeline for pages as well, for your brand. And so just a few notes that I threw down here that I thought would be really cool to think about. This is going to be released, I think, at the end of this month in a conference that they're having in New York, so keep your eye out for that. Just another thing I was wondering is how many people here already have the timeline? So most of the audience, cool. Because there are still a few people. They're not kind of forcing it on users, but a lot of people have adopted it. What do people think of it? Do you like it? Yeah? Okay, cool. So it's now going to be available for pages, and I think it's not a bad idea to start thinking about what you could do with this. One thing that I thought of is that, first of all, some verbs that might make sense for a company that you might not think about. Like when we think about users, it's things like cook, or, I don't know, ran a course, jogged, whatever, visited a place, right? But for a company, I was thinking you might want to think about trying out some verbs like released, announced, invented, launched, or created. So maybe time to start playing with those. And then also, they said that you would be able to put the history of your company on your page. So if you've got a company or a brand that you represent that has a long history, let's say like Coke or something like that, you might want to start thinking about how you'd lay out that timeline, because you will be able to post back in history and kind of like show the whole history of your company. And then also, this ties into, the timeline stuff ties into ad integration as well. I don't think they've released this to the general public yet, but apparently in the ads API, you can now target ads at specific verbs as well. So I think, for example, you could target an ad at somebody that read a specific article on The Guardian. So really cool stuff there with the timeline. All right, and then the really big news, at least for me, I think the most exciting thing that happened in the month, $100 billion, the IPO, right? So I just pulled out, reading through the IPO and reading a bunch of articles, I pulled out the stats that I thought were most interesting. One is that up until 6 or 8 months ago, I had people telling me that Facebook's not profitable. So I think that's been proven to be wrong at this point. $1 billion profit on almost $4 billion revenues. Another really cool number, $1.5 billion paid to platform developers. I think almost all that went to Zynga, but still, there's really good opportunity out there in terms of revenue for developers. Also, there's some stats over on the side there from the image I clipped. 845 million monthly active users, almost 3 billion likes and comments per day, 250 million photos uploaded per day, and 1 billion friendships, 100 billion friendships. The 800 some million monthly active users is cool, but half of those are daily active users. And the reason I think it's nice at this point to revisit these stats, we've heard some of these stats before, but these are now in a legal document they're offering. So we know for sure that they're true and much more quotable. The other thing I thought interesting was the second largest market being India. And I wonder if that means that there's going to be more and more focus on the mobile because of that. And I imagine that quite a few of the users in India are accessing it through their mobile devices. The other thing that I saw that was really cool on there, how many other people may have seen this, the HackerWay. Did anybody else see that in the IPO? Iskander and a couple of other people. Read it if you get a chance. I don't think, I've read a few IPOs in my life, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. Zuckerberg talking about the HackerWay and how important that is in terms of their company philosophy. It's really well written, and he kind of comes out in defense of the way that they do things there in terms of taking risks, moving very fast, and so on. Another interesting thing is that Zuck has the final say, even if he doesn't. I think he owns something like 23 or 28% of the stock, but all of those shares have 10 times voting power. So nobody will ever be able to make any decisions to override Zuck. And then also, what does it mean for us as developers and in particular, developers in the United Kingdom? I forget who did this study, but just recently released 32K jobs in the UK just from Facebook and all of the companies around Facebook developing games and supporting brands around Facebook and so on. So a lot of jobs because of this. Just as a final little question on this, I'm curious, based on what you've seen, how many people will be investing in Facebook? Just a couple. Well, I probably will be too. We'll see what happens. And lastly, just to finish up, this is not Uncle Sam. He's got the Facebook Developer Garage London hat. This is Uncle FDGL. And what do we want you for? A few things. If you're interested in speaking, we'd love to have you up here. You don't need to be a professional speaker. We really like to hear from developers on what they've done, what they discovered that didn't work, and how they worked around that. That's an ideal talk. As well as sponsors. If you're interested in sponsoring us, get in touch with us at the email there. And finally, we're doing something new. We tried it last month. It worked out really well. I hope it works out just as well this month. We have a show and share sign up. And if this is going to work, it's up to you guys. Basically, if you have something you want to talk about, announce, it could be anything. Introduce yourself to the group, what you do, a project that you've worked on that you thought was cool. Just sign up there, and after the break for 10 minutes, we'll get each person up here, have their say. And that's all I have for you this month.